We have reports of boards and committees and commissions. Peggy Driscoll is here for the Planning Commission.
Hi, good evening. Peggy Driscoll, Chair of the Township Planning Commission, here to give you a report on our April 18th meeting. The Planning Commission reviewed 2 zoning hearing board applications and a draft of a new JMZO amendment for an overlay in the LI zoning district. First, we had Newtown Shopping Center, 3 West Road, the Blue Point Grill. The applicant is seeking relief to increase impervious surface by 0.10% in the PC Plan Commercial District to build a 976 square foot outdoor paver patio. The applicant briefly discussed the changes in seating by enlarging the patio. We recognize that the increased seating will also possibly impact traffic and parking, but this would be addressed at conditional use hearing. The commission recommends that the Board of Supervisors not oppose this de minimis increase in impervious surface. Next, we had DeLuca at 70 Twining Bridge Road. The applicants are seeking to subdivide a 3.08 acre parcel into 2 lots for single family homes. The existing buildings on the property are to be demolished, and other needed variances include relief of minimum lot width, setbacks, and building envelope size. Attorney Joe Blackburn discussed the past history of the parcel, which has been a subject of the zoning hearing a few years ago. The members primarily had concerns about the possible historic significance of the buildings deteriorated. They did acknowledge that the condition of the farmhouse, the rental apartment, and the barn is very deteriorated, but will want input from the Joint Historic Commission before any decisions on demolition or preservation are made. The members voted 6-3 to recommend that the board not oppose the zoning hearing board application. Those opposed to the application cited the need to uphold the Joint Comprehensive Plan's goals of preserving the character of the CM zoning district, our historic assets, and our open space. Next, we had a discussion in the overlay district. The Bucks County Planning Commission members, Jeremy Stolf and Lisa Wolf, were in attendance to discuss their draft for an overlay district in our current business commons. We're looking for ways to revitalize the commons to both preserve the business office district and address the recent changes in the business environment where workers are increasingly working from home. The Bucks County Planning Commission examined introducing residential uses and expanding permitted business uses in an overlay that would keep the residential uses internal to the commons. The draft ordinance addresses size of the residential buildings, setbacks, and other requirements, including outdoor amenities and commercial uses within the residential structures, a mixed use. The commons currently has a maximum building height of 50 feet, which could accommodate 5 stories. So we discussed a ratio called floor area ratio, they call it FAR, to help us better control the number of units per building. We asked that the ordinance be revised to strictly limit the height to 50 feet on residential uses, so the towers, mechanicals, parapets, etc. are included in the 50 feet. We discussed a requirement of providing 5% public space, which would include pocket parks, benches, and outdoor eating areas. We were in agreement that some kind of uniform guidelines and design standards might be needed for these amenities. We are optimistic that we will be able to add some residential uses to the commons to help us attract and retain younger residents to the area. The Bucks County Planning Commission will return with a revised draft at some point over the summer as our schedule permits. And that was all we had. Any questions?
I have a question. With the residential mixed use, you're talking about new buildings, not buildings that are already there that would be converted to apartment buildings.
Well, you know, when we first started reviewing this, our goal was to retrofit or infill existing buildings. I don't think new construction was really at the top of the list, even though we did discuss it. I think our main goal is to revitalize the commons and add some uses for the workers that are there, to kind of create an area where they don't have to leave the commons, maybe some restaurant uses, services, things like that.
But you're saying that, I mean, they showed a lot of images of new buildings, 3-story buildings. You were talking a whole lot about that.
I know.
So the buildings that are currently there are more than 3 stories, and they don't look like residential buildings that were shown by the Bucks County Planning Commission. So I think they have a completely different idea.
I agree, and we intend to speak to them at our next meeting. I'll probably speak to them before our next meeting. I mean, our goal with the overlay was to retrofit and infill existing buildings in the commons and to allow more services to the tenants in there.
Right, but adding more residential use in apartment buildings, there's other proposals that have come our way, adding apartments and attracting younger people. And we just heard from Mr. Christensen about what can we do for older people. And I don't know if that impacts the business commons. You're talking about, sounds like you're talking about housing for current workers who are currently working there. Is that how
I don't
you're
think we
looking
can
at it?
zero in on who exactly would be there. I think our general feeling was existing buildings, retail or offices on the first floor and maybe residential on 1 or 2 floors above. I don't think creating new buildings in there was I don't think that's what we felt at the beginning we wanted to do. And the Bucks County Planning Commission, I mean, we're not looking to put something in there like a promenade.
Well, that's what the Bucks County Planning Commission placed before you in terms of its imagery, which really, looked more exciting than converting an office building with apartments on the 2nd and 3rd floors. I mean, they were talking about alleyways, offsets, and things like that relating to new buildings. They weren't talking about retrofitting office buildings.
I understand that. I think we kind of got off course a little bit there. I mean, the three, Dennis, Ellen.
You did spend a lot of time going back and forth about setbacks
did.
and amenities and this. So the floor area ratio. I mean, you spent a lot of time on that, so I'm really kind of interested to see what they're going to come back with, because you did give them a lot to think about.
We did. I think we had a lot of discussion. I don't know if they understand that we're not looking to develop a so-called promenade in there. We want to, our goal is to retrofit and infill.
And bring some people in who then can maybe work in the business commons as well, and maybe do some recreation, maybe get some meals.
Right, absolutely. So we're going to speak to the Planning Commission, the Bucks County Planning Commission, and I think they're going a little off course from where we want to go.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't see anybody that's developing apartments wanting to take the existing blueprint of what's in the business commons and using those buildings for that. I mean, they're obviously going to have to change that to make it appealing for residences. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Is that part of what we're talking about? Is if they need to take down those some of those warehouse type buildings and put up something residential that's not dense, we would be okay with that? Or
I think that's something that we need to discuss. I mean, we have retrofitted some buildings where the pizza place is. I mean, that was, I believe, a warehouse at one point. Curtis Wright was a warehouse that they switched over to offices, and so we have control over what goes on in there, and I think we need a lot more discussion with the Bucks County Planning Commission and kind of direct them to where our vision is. But it is possible to retrofit those buildings.
are we dependent upon them for direction, or are they dependent upon us for direction, to tell them where to go? Hopefully it's us trying to tell them what we want, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we pay them for their services, so
Right.
they're paid to do, I guess, what we direct them to do.
Thank you.
Yes.
But I don't have it in front of me, the overlay that they presented. There were the pink areas, which is where they're anticipating these new uses. And I may be incorrect, but not a lot of it overlays these office buildings. It's more in the vacant areas across Penn's Trail, for example, and other areas that currently, are underutilized in terms of buildings. So I think they have a completely different idea of how they want to design this, or recommend to us anyway. So
I agree. We have a lot more work to do. I think at the last meeting, like I said, you were all there, and it got a little off the path of where we wanted to go, and a few of the members of planning, we've discussed that. So we don't know also where the owners of the buildings, what their plans are. Would they be willing to add residential to their buildings?
Or could we somehow incentivize it? But, yes.
I guess that's possible.